Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the opening and award ceremony of Korea Institute Intelligent Transport System International Conference 2022. This is Dong Hwan-seo, the Vice Chairman of the organization in this conference, and I will be your moderator today. On behalf of all co-organizers, I would like to welcome all of you to KITS International Conference 2022. The theme of this year is Future Smart City with ITS and is operating by hybrid. Before proceeding with the ceremony of session, please allow to me introduce guests of honor who came here to celebrate this event. Ladies and gentlemen, every time I introduce guests, please give them a big round of applause. Please welcome Sang-Soo Lee, President of the Korea Institute of Intelligent Transport System. Next, please welcome Yoon-sang Lee, Assistant Minister for Road, Ministry, Land, Infrastructure and Transport, Korea. Next, please welcome Joo-min Lee, Chairman of the Road Traffic Authority. Next, Dr. Keong, Advisor of ITS Singapore. Next, please welcome Akimasa Fujiwara, Graduate School of Advanced Science and Engineering, Hiroshima University, Japan. There are so many people to introduce, but due to the time constraints, I will summarize them here. Also, please a big round of applause for all of us here. Now, we will be the opening and award ceremony. To begin with, I would like to invite Professor Sang-Soo Lee, the President of KITS. Please give a warm round of applause. Yeah.
존경하는 한국ITS학회 회원 여러분, 2022년 한국ITS학회 창립 20주년을 기념하는 국제학술대회를 아름다운 제주도에서 성황리에 개최하게 됨을 기쁘게 생각합니다. 저는 회원사 그리고 본 행사에 참여해 주시는 모든 분들을 진심으로 환영합니다. 먼저 본 행사에 축하를 위해서 참석해 주신 국토교통부 이윤성 도로국장님, 그리고 도로교통공단의 이주민 이사장님, 그리고 싱가포르 ITS의 닥터 친 박사님께 감사의 말씀을 드리고자 합니다. 그리고 축사를 해주신 교통안전공단 권영복 이사장님, 그리고 IEEE ITS 소사이티의 크리스티나 회장님께 감사 인사를 드립니다. 금번 국제학술대회 주제는 Future Smart City with ITS로 정했습니다. 본 행사에는 미국의 매너링 교수님, 그리고 일본의 후지하라 교수님 등을 포함한 7개국에서 8분의 저명한 발표자를 모셨고, 모든 발표자께서 저희 한국ITS학회 창립 20주년을 축하해 주셨습니다. 그리고 본 행사에 모든 분들이 참석하고자 했으나 코로나로 인한 제약 때문에 모든 분들이 오시지 못해서 굉장히 아쉽게 생각하고 있습니다. 금번 학술대회는 또한 일반 세션과 포스트 세션을 통해서 217편의 논문 발표가 있습니다. 그리고 34개의 특별 세션과 14개의 기업의 전시 부스가 운영되고 있습니다. 이러한 행사들은 기업과 정부 산하기관, 그리고 국책연구소, 그리고 대학 연구소 등에서 수행한 ITS 분야의 연구와 사업을 소개하고 그간의 성과를 공유하면서 향후 연구를 위한 협업 체계를 공고히 하는데 큰 도움이 될 것이라고 생각하고 있습니다. 근본 국제학술대회에 참여와 교류의 폭을 넓히기 위해서 학회에서는 줌과 유튜브를 통한 다양한 미디어 기술을 통한 비대면 참석도 가능하게 구성을 하였습니다. 회원 여러분께서는 대면, 비대면을 구분하지 마시고 본 프로그램에 적극적으로 참석하셔서 좋은 의견을 나누시고 또한 올해 우리 학회의 창립 20주년을 기쁜 마음으로 축하해 주셨으면 감사하겠습니다. 끝으로 근본 국제학술 대회를 통해 학회 회원분들께서 지난 20년간 보내주신 성원과 관심에 보답하고자 하며 앞으로도 한국 ITS학회가 더욱 발전할 수 있도록 지속적인 격려를 부탁드리겠습니다. 회원 여러분 건강하시고 감사드립니다.
Thank you very much. Next, we'll have the congratulatory ceremony. So first, the congratulatory speech, I would like to Mr. Yoon-sang Lee, Assistant Minister for Road, Ministry of Land, Infrastructure and Transport, Korea. Please give him a big round of applause.
여러분 반갑습니다. 국토교통부 도로국장 이은상입니다. 한국 ITS학회 20주년 국제학술대회에 참석해 주신 모든 분들께 감사와 환영의 말씀을 드립니다. 특히 본 행사를 준비해 주신 ITS학회 이상수 회장님, 이 자리에 참석해 주신 ITS 분야의 전문가 여러분들께도 감사드립니다. 또한 축사를 맡아주신 도로교통공단 이주민 이사장님, 그리고 해외에서 이 행사장에 직접 참석해 주신 싱가포르 육상교통청 킨컹친 수석님, 그다음에 일본 히로시마 대학교 아키마사 후지와라 교수님께도 감사드립니다. ITS학회는 ITS와 관련된 학문과 연구를 장려하기 위해 2002년도에 창립되어 지난 20년간 국내 ITS 분야 발전에 많은 기여를 해왔습니다. 그동안 학회를 성공적으로 이끌어오신 역대 회장님, 그 다음에 학회 관계자와 회원 여러분들께 다시 한번 감사 말씀드립니다. 최근 4차 산업혁명에 의한 ICT 기반 융복합에 따라 신이동수단 등장과 이동에 대한 관점도 급변하고 있습니다. 이렇듯 공간과 이동의 혁명 시대에 접어들면서 새 정부의 교통정책 방향도 자율차, CITS, UAM 등 미래 모빌리티 산업을 신성장 동력으로 육성하고 공급자적 시각을 벗어나 수요자 중심의 모빌리티 체계로 빠른 전환을 추진하는 것에 초점을 맞추고 있습니다. 지난 5월 국토교통부 신임 원희룡 장관님도 취임사를 통해서 새 정부의 혁신에 가장 앞장서는 부처가 되자는 취지에서 국토교통부의 교통, 영문명도 트랜스포트에서 모빌리티로 바꾸는 것을 제안하신 바가 있습니다. 저는 이런 모빌리티 혁신의 중심에 ITS가 있으며 ITS가 기반이 되어 이동의 혁명이 촉진될 수 있다고 생각합니다. 정부에서도 이런 시대적 흐름을 뒷받침하기 위해서 2027년 레벨 4 자율차의 상용화를 목표로 대규모 기술 개발과 법 제도 정비, CITS의 시범 구축 등을 추진 중에 있습니다. 또한 2024년까지 전국 주요 도로에 ITS 구축을 완료하고 CITS 인프라를 2024년부터는 고속도로는 물론 국도 전 구간과 지방도 주요 구간에 구축해 교통 안전을 강화하고 완전 자율주행을 지원해 나갈 계획입니다. 아울러 도로를 미래 모빌리티 플랫폼으로 전환하기 위한 노력으로 멀티모달 환승 거점과 물류 거점 구축, 하이패스가 없는 운전자도 고속도로 무정차 통행이 가능하도록 스마트 톨링 확산 방안도 함께 추진할 계획입니다. 이렇게 추진되는 모빌리티 프로젝트의 실현을 통해 모빌리티의 친환경성과 지속 가능성을 확보해 가면서 국민들께는 현재 이동하는 데 들어가는 번거로움과 고단함 대신에 이동의 즐거움은 물론 여유로운 삶도 찾아드릴 수 있을 것입니다. 지난주 서울 강남 한복판에서 자율주행 로버라이드 시승 행사가 성공적으로 진행되었습니다. 공간과 이동의 혁명 시대에 자율주행 시승 행사는 모빌리티의 변화를 국민들께 알려드리는 역사적인 순간이었다고 생각합니다. 이렇듯 도로교통 분야는 이미 새 시대를 예고하고 있습니다. IT 기술 발전은 더더욱 빨라질 것이며 스마트 시티, 자율주행차, 드론 택시 등 도입은 가속화될 것입니다. 그런 의미에서 이번 학술대회가 자율주행, 마스, AI, 빅데이터 등 미래의 주요 트렌드들을 공유하고 논의할 수 있는 장이 되기를 희망합니다. 100년 전 말이 다니던 길에 자동차가 다니는 도로로 바뀌고 이제는 다양한 교통수단의 이동이 지하와 공중으로 확장되고 있습니다. 이렇듯 더욱 과감하고 혁신적인 도로교통 체계의 전환을 위해 여러분의 아낌없는 협력과 적극적인 동참이 필요합니다. 우리 국토교통부도 자율주행을 비롯해 퍼스널 모빌리티, 배송 로봇, 도심 항공교통에 이르는 미래 모빌리티가 일상의 한 부분이 되도록 적극 뒷받침할 것을 약속드리며 이를 위해 ITS 분야가 미래로 가는 길을 선도하여 주시길 당부드립니다. 한국 ITS의 발전과 여러분들의 건승을 기원하며 다시 한 번 더 한국 ITS학회의 창립 20주년을 축하드립니다. 감사합니다.
Thank you very much, Mr. D, for your great work. For the second congratulatory speech, I would like to invite Mr. Joo-min Lee, Chairman of the Road Traffic Authority Korea. Please give him a big round of applause.
여러분 반갑습니다. 도로교통공단 이사장 이주민입니다. 오늘 풍광이 좋은 이 제주에서 2022년 한국 ITS학회 국제학술대회를 개최하게 된 것을 진심으로 축하드립니다. 한국 ITS학회는 2002년 창립 이래 ITS 관련 학문과 연구를 선도하고 회원 간 정보 공유 체제와 협력 체계 구축을 통해 국내외 ITS 분야 발전에 많은 기여를 해왔습니다. ITS학회가 지금의 모습으로 성장할 수 있도록 기틀을 마련해 주신 광운대 홍의석 명예교수님과 아주대 이승환 명예교수님을 비롯하여 전직 학회 회장단 여러분들께 존경과 감사의 말씀을 드립니다. 또한 근본 국제학술대회를 준비하신 이상수 학회장님과 회원 여러분들, 그리고 이 자리를 빛내주신 국토교통부 이윤상 도로국장님과 ITS 싱가포르의 친 박사님, 그리고 일본에서 오신 아키마사 후지와라 교수님께도 감사의 인사를 드립니다. 올해는 한국 ITS학회가 창립 20주년을 맞이하여 ITS와 함께하는 미래 스마트 시티를 주제로 국내외 IT 분야 전문가들을 모시고 다양한 연구 성과를 소개하고 열띤 토론을 진행하게 되어 그 의미가 남다르다 하겠습니다. 최근 정부에서도 모빌리티 산업 지원을 강화하여 미래 먹거리로 육성할 것을 국정과제로 천명하고 천명하고 있어서 첨단 교통 분야의 중요성이 더욱 강조되고 있습니다. 이에 저희 도로교통공단도 지난 70년간 교통 현장에서 축적해온 다양한 전문성과 경험을 바탕으로 자율주행, 이모빌리티, 마스 등 미래 모빌리티 육성을 함께 하고자 합니다. 또한 한국 ITS학회와의 상호 협력을 통하여 산, 학, 연 협동 체계를 구축하고 ITS 관련 이슈 해결과 정책 지원에 기여하도록 하겠습니다. 오늘 춘계 학술대를 통해 발표되는 다양한 논문들의 학술적 성과가 정부 정책과 현장에 반영되어 우리 국민 모두가 소망하는 교통 선진국으로 한 걸음 나아가는데 소중한 디딤돌이 되기를 바랍니다. 끝으로 오늘 국제학술대회를 준비하느라 수고하신 학회 관계자분들께 거듭 감사의 말씀을 드리며 한국 ITS학회의 무궁한 발전과 회원님들의 건강과 행복을 기원합니다. 감사합니다.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lee, for your warm welcome.
안녕하십니까.
Next, congratulatory message. I would like to introduce Mr. Yong-Bok-Kwon, Chairman of the Korea Transportation Safety Authority.
안녕하십니까. 한국교통안전공단 이사장 권용복입니다. 2022년 한국 ITS학회 국제학술대회 개최를 진심으로 축하드립니다. 먼저 뜻깊은 자리를 만들어주신 한국 ITS학회 이상수 회장님께 감사드리며 국토교통부 이윤상 도로국장님, 도로교통공단의 이준일 이사장님, 싱가포르에서 오신 친 키안 박사님과 학회 관계자 여러분께도 진심으로 감사 말씀드립니다. 전 세계가 코로나19라는 전례 없는 위기를 맞았지만 우리 사회는 그 어느 때보다 슬기롭게 위기를 혁신과 성장의 기회로 만들어 나가고 있습니다. 누구보다 앞서 디지털 대전환을 이끌었고 첨단 IT 기술을 도입해 더 높은 효율성과 사회 안전망을 구축하였습니다. 교통 분야 역시 첨단 기술을 활용해 새로운 패러다임을 만들어 가고 있습니다. CITS, 자율주행, 드론 등의 기술들이 이제는 국가의 새로운 성장 동력으로 떠오르고 있습니다. 또한 첨단 기술 기반의 미래 교통시장을 선점하기 위해 정부와 민간 모두가 변화하고 있습니다. 저희 공단 역시 미래 모빌리티 시장에서의 국가 경쟁력 향상을 위해 교통안전관리 전반에 걸쳐 시스템화를 진행 중에 있고 자율주행 테스트베드인 KCT의 고도화, 도심항공교통 생태계 조성 등 교통 분야 전 분야의 디지털 혁신을 추진하고 있습니다. 또한 국민 누구나 ITS 서비스를 누릴 수 있도록 통합버스 정보 시스템인 BIS 사업을 추진하였으며 드디어 올해 전국의 지자체에서 버스 정보 시스템 구축이 완료됩니다. 기술 혁신과 더불어 국민 누구나 혜택을 받을 수 있도록 공단은 항상 최선의 노력을 다할 것입니다. 이번 학술대회는 ITS와 함께하는 미래의 스마트 시티라는 주제로 첨단 교통이 주도하는 스마트 시티에 대한 국제적인 논의가 있는 것으로 알고 있습니다. 활발한 연구와 국제적인 교류를 통해서 보다 안전하고 편리한 미래의 교통 환경을 만들 수 있도록 여러분들이 지혜와 경험을 모아주시기 바랍니다. 저희 공단도 학계와 시민단체, 기업인 등 다양한 의견이 모이고 반영될 수 있도록 더욱 견고한 거버넌스를 만들어 가겠습니다. 마지막으로 대회를 준비해 주신 관계자 여러분께 다시 한번 감사 인사를 드리며 학술대회 기간 동안 건강에 유의하시고 행복한 시간 보내시기 바랍니다. 감사합니다.
For the fourth congratulatory speech, I would like to invite Dr. Keong Kian advisor of ITS Singapore. Let's give him a round of applause.
Mr. Lee Yong-san, Vice Minister of Roads, MLIT, Professor Kim Jong-oh, Director, MLIT, Professor Lee Sang-so, President KITS, ladies and gentlemen. First, I'd like to thank KITS for organizing this conference and inviting me to grace this opening ceremony. I also like to thank the ITS Korea for inviting me here as well. My experience with ITS goes back many years. First with traffic light control systems, and then on to the many traffic sensors we have on our road network, to electronic road pricing, and to integrated traffic control systems for Singapore. But over the years, I realized that it takes more than just technologies, policies, and good practices. You need to have a clear, purposeful objectives. And I would categorize them into three groupings. First, you have to have a secure and safe system in order to gain the trust and confidence of users to allow them to use it to the extent that you want them to. Second is about equitable system, being inclusive so that everyone have the opportunity to use them. And third, of course, it must improve on the well-being of the community. This could include efficiency of the systems, making it more affordable, and so on. Going into the future, we see many more ITS coming on. Mobility as a service, connected roads, connected vehicles, 5G, and autonomous vehicles. But what's clear to me is that you still need to have a purposeful and clear objectives. And the three categories I mentioned will still remain valid. But I'd like to add a fourth one, and that is on environmental sustainability. Over the years, there's been a pressing need to ensure the global warming issue do not get too serious. There's a need to ensure the carbon footprint do not go up any much higher. And so this fourth category is something we have to pay attention to. And on that note, let me say thank you again. And I congratulate the KITS for organizing this 20th anniversary conference to share knowledge and information. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Chin, for your warm words. Also, Dr. Chin will deliver his presentation in plenary session. Next, the final congratulatory message, I would like to introduce Professor Olaverri-Monreal, Cristina. His congratulatory message is pre-recorded, and let's watch the video delivered from Austria.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Cristina Olaverri-Monreal. In my role of President of the IEEE ITS Society, I would like to congratulate the Korea Intelligent Transportation System Society in its 20th anniversary. I especially appreciate and I am extremely happy to participate in this international conference that has been organized to commemorate this anniversary. ITS technology represents an opportunity to enhance mobility and increase safety in cities. For example, the highest levels of automation will not only lead to a decrease in the rate of accidents caused by human errors, but also to a reduction of air congestion and pollution. In addition, the exemption from driving duties will give passengers the freedom to perform all the tasks during the trip. concurrently communication and network technologies to support not only vehicular communication but also infrastructure and people will transform cities and transport as we know it with radical advances in mobility. I am confident that the Korean ITS International Conference 2022 will present the latest scientific advances in these exciting areas. I am sure it will be a great opportunity to learn about new developments in the field of intelligent vehicles and smart cities during the presentations and to participate in the lively discussions that will take place during the conference. I also want to express my gratitude to the chairman of the organization committee, Professor Tohi, and to all the people involved in the organization of this conference for spreading the knowledge in the field of ITS and smart cities. We all know how challenging it is to organize a large conference that takes place in a hybrid form with participants online and in person. I hope to see you all in the next Korean ITS conference. I'm sure it will be an invaluable opportunity for the scientific community in the ITS field to explore new areas of learning, share their research findings, and engage with others working in their field. I will be looking forward to it. Until then, enjoy the conference in the Jeju Island in Korea.
Thank you very much. Next, we will now have the award ceremony of Minister of Land, Infrastructure and Transport. On behalf of Minister, Mr. Yoon Sang-lee, Assistant Minister for Road, will present the award. Please come to the stage, Mr. Lee. Let's give him a big round of applause. Then I will announce the winners of the award, Minister Road. When I call the winners, come to the stage. First, the winner, Honorary Professor Keong. Please come to the stage. Please give him a big round of applause. It's not easy to say this Minister Award in English, so I ask for your understanding, and I will speak in Korean. 제 39,633호 표창장 강운대학교 명예교수 홍의석. 귀하는 평소 맡은 바 직무에 정려하여 왔으며 진흥형 교통체계 ITS 분야에서 국토교통 업무 발전에 기여한 공이 크므로 이에 표창합니다. 2022년 6월 16일 국토교통부 장관 원희룡. 큰 박수 부탁드립니다. 부상으로는 국토부 장관 마크가 들어간 시계가 수여됩니다. Please take a picture. Thank you very much for Mr. Hong. Next, Honorary Professor Seung-Hwan Lee. Please give him a big round of applause. Honorary Hong and Lee have given their time, effort, dedication, and so much more to make our KITS successful from the founding of the society. 표창장 명예교수 이승환. 귀하는 평소 맡은 바 직무에 정리하여 왔으며 진흥형 교통체계 분야에서 국토교통 업무 발전에 기여한 공이 크므로 이에 표창합니다. 2022년 6월 16일 국토교통부 장관 원희룡. 큰 박수 부탁드립니다. Please take picture, please. Thank you. Let's all give them. Yeah. Next, we will now have the introduction of promotion via video. This is a host of ITS World Congress and Kangneung Smart City Innovation Plan. Please give a big round of applause and video. Thank you for cooperation. Now we start the plenary session entitled Future Smart City with ITS. For the first presentation, I would like to invite Mr. T. Russell Shields, President of CEO of RoadDB. He will start the online presentation through Zoom. Hello, Mr. Shields.
Please, distinguished hosts, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I am pleased to make this presentation. I wish that I had be there with you. I've had my favorite meals in there, Korean barbecue with baby abalones, but it's unfortunately we're remote right now. My discussion will be my ideas about automated driving, and I emphasize these are mine only and they're ideas. And the first thing I would tell you is that anybody who tells you they know what's going to happen with automated driving systems in the future, turn off and don't listen to them, because nobody knows what's going to happen. We're moving forward. We're trying things. It's coming, but how it comes, when it comes, we really do not know. So what I'm going to sort of put this in context of where I see things coming from. First of all, I sort of distinguish between the types of vehicles, and they really are significantly different. One, obviously, is the basic shuttles and buses that can work either in a limited area or a wide citywide, replacing eventually current transportation. We will certainly have delivery vehicles of different sorts. Some of them are specialized little delivery vehicles, maybe almost robots to deliver food or packages, local area delivery vehicles, in some cases like the port facilities, very special vehicles for parts, and of course, long haul trucking type vehicles, all are different parts. Of course, we have robo-taxis, and there's lots of discussion about robo-taxis from Waymo and other things. And then I think one of the most important parts is going to be consumer vehicles, the vehicles that you and I buy and drive, that will slowly but surely have automated driving. Some of you may have seen that the first regulations for automated driving in consumer vehicles on expressways up to 60 kilometers an hour. The regulation has been approved. Initial vehicles have been sold by Honda in Tokyo. Mercedes has announced them. This is a first step and a start. So that's sort of the environment of the different things, and they really are different, and you can't talk about them as one thing here. As we look at the pieces, there is first of all, the key structural environments, the regulations, the international regulations from the UN Forum for Harmonization of Vehicle Regulations, the country regulations like you have in Korea based on some of these actions, and the standards committees that come from ISO, IEEE, and other things at a international level, and the local country standards. The migration and steps of the fleet, step by step, it's going to happen. As the engineering improves, as the hardware improves, as the technology, we have limited things, local areas, small pieces. And there are pieces and structures in the infrastructure. Those are hard to really understand. And of course, some people who are developing systems think the government should pay for a whole lot of infrastructure because that's the only way they can make their products work. Others are working very hard to be able to build their products so that they will work in pretty much current infrastructure. So as you work, you have to watch through those. So the regulations, they're really, I think, important for the stakeholders, both authorities and developers, to work for the regulations, both the national level and local, have to take part. We have to very much look at the local laws, zoning, as we call it in English, what the rules are around and how buildings are done and stuff, what structures there are for people to work in automated driving, what training you have to do, how you control it. These are all important things that you look at among them, of just what it may affect in the traffic patterns. Congestion and, of course, safety are very, very important. And we particularly are having lots of discussions about what the interaction should be between people and the automated vehicles. And a particular issue thought about here in the US is, if we're really successful in the buses and shuttles, what does that have as a way of impact on transit employment and evolves? And we have a good pattern of the evolution of automated tolling, where we replaced humans who were collecting toll money by hand with technology. It was a difficult issue, and the evolution of people who having their jobs replaced by technology is something that is, I think, really important. So as we go and look at the standards side, there are many standards bodies, and unfortunately, we have problems with an international standards bodies which are competing with each other. We have two different ISO committees, TC22 and TC204. Some who fight sometimes. IEEE wants to do things separate from others. So we need to have real influence by those of you who want to really see these things evolve, of how to try to make the standards bodies provide what they want, but also do it together and consistent. And unfortunately, we have lots of issues with communications. Some of you may have read recently that the U.S., we've had a battle between new 5G communications versus impact at airports for planes that are landing. The government authorities need to work very carefully to make sure that the protections are there. And the one thing I'm sure you all know is that the communication standards continue to change. You can't build things based on current expectations. We're now at 5G, rolled out pretty well. The development on 6G is working, so being worked on. So that's happening. So please always consider the interface with the communications people, and remember that we in the transport area are a very small part of the communications business. So they give priority to your handheld smartphones and other things. So as I talk about how we move things forward, we've had already limited rollout of some shuttles in what we call geofence in limited areas, a university campus or big industrial complex or small special thing. They're on fixed routes, and now they're running in low speeds. There's many of them. These are still trying primarily as testing, will build up and will be, I think, the really first thing that is coming. We are working, and there is effort on the really regular buses that would go higher speeds. They still, I think, are going to be very much geofenced and routed. They are in trials in some cities worldwide. The robo-taxis, they are also geofenced. They will work in a particular city or part of a city or what have you. They are essentially unrouted, i.e. that means they can choose to go different ways, different streets within their geofenced area, tend to be more higher speed, regular travel. I personally, and this is my personal opinion, I think it's quite a number of years before we have successful widespread routes in the robotaxi. There's a lot of effort led in China and in the US, huge amounts of money being spent on it. I personally will wait and see, but we'll find out. For the delivery vehicles, they are probably the widest variety of things. They move in different areas. We have in the US structures of some that go on sidewalks and some that are move in lower areas. They work in different areas. We do have, in addition to the surface vehicles, there are efforts on in the air vehicles, drones that may deliver packages and other things. A number of major companies have been working in these, and this is one area that COVID really moved the effort forward, and we're structuring. And as I mentioned, for personal vehicles, these will, by the nature of being personal vehicles you buy, have to go everywhere at different speeds as they go. They are not going to come as anything more than a application. It's going to be in very high-end vehicles. It's step by step, as I said, very small number of very expensive vehicles now. In the next midterms, I'd say 5 years or so, I think we will see piece by piece wider adoption, but they may go to upper middle class in US terms, vehicles in the range of that cost new $50,000 or more is about the lowest I expect to see in anywhere in significant time. So from a smart city side, what do you have to do? You certainly will need to make some changes. And very important reality is look at the return on investment. Don't just, you got to get the latest technology. It's really, in some cases, not going to be economic. Watch it carefully. We will, and pay attention, really pay attention to service life and the expectations of how vehicles are going to evolve. That putting a lot of money in to support things that will no longer be necessary a few years from now is not a good way. So we're working through V2X. Obviously, for electric vehicles, we got to get the charging stations and support on how that works. Certainly, particularly in cities, the sidewalks, I do think that the delivery bots on sidewalks is an area that we've been improving the sidewalks, fixing roads. I think building special lanes and stuff in almost all cases is not economic. We have better ways to use the limited space that we have for roads to making dedicated automated vehicle lanes. So we need to work on those, and certainly clean up and improve signage and road markings, but not buildings. This is an area for delivery that needs to be thought through, I think, more than it has. Buildings where what we call in English loading docks, where the delivery vehicles connect to, how you get to them, the ability for people to access automated vehicles, all those things, and the related securities that go around that. They have to be thought through and worked on. Local concessions and help for buildings may be useful. And we're certainly moving towards logistics centers, how they may support things. And there's certainly, I think, good number of cases where we may have automated vehicles where we would have a support center, a high-end call center, basically, that can see what the vehicle sees, that can help for issues, accidents, problems, trouble, where we can have one person supporting many vehicles. Those things are going to happen. So in conclusion, I think the transit type vehicles, shuttles, and others that operate in limited ODDs, a lot of you will hear ODD, operational design domain. That's where the vehicles are designed to operate, where they're allowed. I think this is going to be a continuous, significant step-by-step. And if we come back here in 10 years, these will be very common. And certainly electric vehicles and connected vehicles, which will help and support some of the automated vehicle techniques. They're in the EVs, and certainly the connected vehicles are rolling out. That gives us the basis. ADS, as I talk about, automated design systems, and these are products, and I really want to call them product. We're putting into vehicles a product. The capabilities will come step by step. The regulations are moving forward very rapidly and successfully at the UN level in the World Forum for Harmonization of Vehicle Regulations. Korea government does participate very importantly in these activities, and the related efforts and development by vehicle manufacturers are moving forward. They're slow, complex, both on the software side and the improvement in the sensors. I would emphasize that there's still plenty of time for the cities, the leadership of cities, to have a big influence on the adoption of automated vehicles, and certainly for the preparation for automated vehicles. I do not believe you have to rush out and get things done in the next few years. As I mentioned, and I really want to memorize again, I personally believe that the order, as we're going to see the evolution, is going to be the shuttles, the delivery vehicles, and step-by-step personal vehicles, from very, very high-priced vehicles with limited capabilities, moving down to middle-priced vehicles with widespread capabilities. And particularly, these are going to be more widespread, I think, in true operation, that work without subsidies, without companies losing money as they're trying to do it a long time on the robo-taxis. I particularly believe that we should be anticipating what's needed for delivery types of structures and vehicles, and that should be an area that the intelligent city leadership thinks about it. And certainly the obvious thing that I have to say, we have to make sure that the public believes that they're safe. We have to control sloppy developers who push things through that in testing and cause trouble with. We have way too many accidents so far in bad testing of automated vehicles. The authorities, I think, have to look very carefully at, on one side, how they make sure that they don't impact the ability of automated vehicles to be developed and that they do not get in the way. But on the other side, make sure that what is being tested in a way that is responsible, controlled, and supported, that doesn't provide risk on the public. And certainly the capabilities of spending money, fancy investments, great ideas are a danger, and we have to make sure that we do have true feasibility on an unsubsidized basis for these vehicles, as well as having the technical capabilities evolve. So thank you. I really appreciate the time and hope that I've had some useful thoughts for you.
Thank you, Mr. Chill. Please give him a big round of applause. Thank you. We have out of time, so if you have any question, please raise your hand. I will take one question. Yeah.
Hi, Russ. This is Young Moon from Koti.
Hi, how you doing?
Nice meeting you. Anyway,
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask a quick question for you. That as you know, the 5G is going to be to make soft land in case of our automated vehicle for V2X communication, and also in case of in Korea, we have the situation between two ministries that the V2X between a wave and also the 4G LTE based on release 14, that we're gonna need more time to get things done in order to the test of LTE V2X will be on the road in the next year. So do you have any kind of words of suggestion to Korea in this matter?
Yes, I believe that WAVE is our grandfather's technology, out of date, should go away. The people who are supporting WAVE, I think, are impacting the evolution of the proper technology. The cellular V2X is the proper approach. The release 14 is a start. The coming updates to release 16 cellular V2X are very important. I know I have good friends who don't like it, but I really think they need to stop trying to protect WAVE. It was good for testing. It was created in 2100. It's now over 20 years old. Let's move to be part of the current communication spaces.
I'd like to introduce Mr. Akimasa Fujiwara, Graduate School of Advanced Science and Engineering, Hiroshima University, Japan. The title of his presentation is a case socially accepted within the context of local city. Please welcome him with a big round of applause.
Thank you, Chair. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Fujiwara from Hiroshima University, Japan. It's my great pleasure to have here to make a presentation after pandemic. This is the first trip to go abroad after the coronavirus infection. Anyway, my talk is social implementation issues of new mobility services. Case is socially accepted or not, especially in the context of local city. Next, please. Okay, I think I don't necessary to explain this case itself, but no, this is unconnected. That's okay. Thank you. Yeah, maybe as same as Korea, Japanese local city has a very much serious problem about the aging and depopulated issues. Driving license is surrendered for over 75 years old, and level of service of public transportation are now getting worse, and shortage of drivers issues are also appeared. On the other hand, we need to keep the sustainability in local cities, such as economy sustainability or carbon sustainability or post-pandemic sustainability. So there is antinomy between the current issues and the future. So my question is, the case is a solution of these issues. And let me introduce my experience of the cases of case. Today I prepared 4 examples. The one is autonomous bus operation with cooperation with the LRT, and also the risk perception of social residents of self-driving technology, and also social acceptance of autonomous mass technology, and also the bodies. And lastly, I want to share the current ongoing project of the shared space with AV and pedestrians. Those technology related to case, of course, and also we conducted the virtual experiment or real experiment at the same time. First, this is one pilot study of social acceptance of connected autonomous bus and LRT in Hiroshima City. This is a small shuttle. Then this bus, autonomous driving bus, entering the tram track with cooperation, communication with the LRT. We conducted the real experiment in Hiroshima City 2 years ago, 2019. Then autonomous enter the tram track, and following the previous LRT, and after passing the certain place, this bus automatically get out from the tram track into the general road. That is one of the benefit for users, because they can stay the same stop between the tram and autonomous bus. Oh. Sorry, video is not work well. Sorry, right hand side, I'm going to show you the video clip of the autonomous bus shuttle operation. Sorry, it's not work well. This is the result of the autonomous shuttle. Basically, they have a higher acceptance responses than our expectation. Around 71% people want to use this autonomous shuttle. Next is evaluation of risk perception of the self-driving technology in general. We borrowed the idea of the Slavic experiment that is a psychometric pattern. Then we put the two factors, that is the direct factors and unknown factors, based on the questionnaire. I want to skip detail of the design of survey itself. Then we put the engineer's question by using the virtual experiment. We put the video clip to introduce what is autonomous vehicle and self-driving technology. Not only the benefit of the technology, but also the disbenefit or risks of that. After showing the video clip, we calculate the two kinds of risks, that is the direct risks and unknown risks, unfamiliar risks. Then, surprisingly, after drawing the risk map of the advanced technology existing in the world, of course, in terms of the x-axis, that is the direct risks, the gun or nuclear power has a right-hand side. That is a very much serious concern about the direct risks of these technology. But in terms of the unknown risks, the autonomous vehicle, autonomous cars, autonomous bus also has a highest position of unknown risks. Therefore, this is one of the hints how to accept this autonomous technology in the society. We need to reduce the risks of unknown factors. That is one of our lessons from this virtual experiment. Third case is the social acceptance of autonomous vehicle plus mass service with BOPIS. Hiroshima University now trying to operate the autonomous vehicle and also to connect the shopping mall with the BOPIS service. Then the Hiroshima University target is how to realize the smart campus by considering the carbon neutral. Then we are now trying to operate this small size of autonomous bus. Sorry. In addition to the autonomous shuttle service, we also provide one more service, that is BOPIS. Then BOPIS also very much familiar in the society and also autonomous vehicle, but we don't know how both two services collaborate and has interaction effect between two. That is our question. Therefore, we conducted a real and virtual experiment in Higashi Hiroshima City, which is a city Hiroshima University locates. Then this is the result. We identify the synergy effect between two services. Combination is quite important to attract a lot of users from the society. Last one, we are now going to introduce the shared space with autonomous vehicle and pedestrian. This is one of the case study of evaluation of link and space function of road. We need to graduate from the existing function of road to the new function, that is the link and space function. By using the previous autonomous shuttle in Hiroshima University campus, we are now trying to observe the behavior between the autonomous vehicle and pedestrians. Especially, we want to evaluate the behavior of pedestrian and bicycle in case of existing the autonomous vehicle or in case of existing the normal vehicle. Then we put the video camera to identify their behavior. So you can see the right-hand side of the figure photo. Then you can identify the green color, that is the autonomous vehicle, and there are several pedestrians existing. Then we need to observe the interaction between two. Then we developed the model of pedestrian movement. I want to skip detail, but basically we want to identify the direction of movement of pedestrian existing the autonomous vehicle, and also the speed and acceleration and deceleration of the direction of pedestrian. Then we put the choice modeling among 33 choice alternatives. Then this is a utility function. I want to skip the detail about this. Then finally, we develop the estimation model to predict the pedestrian movement with and without the autonomous vehicle. Then we want to compare the effect of the autonomous vehicle existing by comparing with a normal type of vehicle. Red color parameter, car and Hiromobi, that is the name of autonomous vehicle, has a different parameter, different scale of parameter. Then we want to say pedestrians tend to pay attention to car rather than the autonomous vehicle. That is all my presentation of our case study. Hopefully, we believe autonomous vehicle and a new mobility service will solve the social issues, especially occurred in the local city. Not only the big metropolitan cities, but also this technology will help us the issues in local city. Hopefully, Korean society will share a similar result in Japan. Thank you very much.
Thank you. If you have any question, please feel free to raise your hand. I will take one question. You don't have any question? Okay, it seems like his presentation is so perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
So next presentation, I would like to introduce again Dr. Kian Keong, advisor ITS Singapore and Chief Engineer LTA Singapore. He delivered his presentation titled Smart Cities, Opportunities and Challenges for ITS. Please give him a big round of applause.
Thank you. Right, I will spend the next 15 minutes or so talking about this subject. But first, we need to understand what is a smart city. To me, it's very simple. A smart city is a city in which it improves the quality of life of residents there. It need not be just transportation. It could be in areas like healthcare, the way we work, the way we play, and so forth. But transportation is an important aspect. And it is very often more than just the application of technologies. It's also the applications of processes, policies, and acceptance. Traffic control systems is probably one of the first ITS in many cities. Started off with manual in the old days, but it went on to become automated. Very often, if you look at it, it's a very simple system. All you need to do is just control three variables: cycle time, phase allocation, and the offsets. Offsets are timing between one junction and the next. But within these three variables, you have a lot of issues. First, every junction can be optimized by controlling these the two variables of cycle time and phase allocation. That will give you optimal junction performance. But very often in any cities, you got to look at the whole corridor to link the traffic lights in order to give you corridor efficiency, optimal corridor performance. And junction performance and corridor performance often do not come together. They're always in conflict with another. And that's the challenge of ITS, to try to balance these two needs. How do you optimize junction performance and corridor performance so that for a whole network, you get optimal operations. And on top of that, many traffic lights have to take into consideration pedestrians. You got to give them enough time to walk across the roads, and that will upset your parameters that you set for junction performance and so forth. And many cities, especially when we talk about smart cities, we have to consider priority for certain groups of vehicles, high capacity buses, ambulances, and so forth. And that again will upset the balance that you have worked out in order to get optimal network performance. But these are challenges that the traffic engineers will have to contend with. The next one is about using information to give route choice data, route choice information, so that users could decide on the best route for them. Very often you have a lot of applications today that will take into account the traffic conditions today at that point in time and advise you on the best route to go from point A to point B. With the smart cities also comes applications that can tell you availability of parking spaces at many developments in the city or in the areas around it, so that you need not have to circulate around to find the best parking space. Public transports also have intelligence built in now. Very often you can have applications that tell you when your bus service will arrive, how crowded the bus is, and so forth. But to make all this happen, you need good quality data. And that's happening already in many smart cities. But is that good enough? Let me just go back and argue that in order to get good information, you need to have good data. And there are 4 attributes there that I've listed down. First, the data you get must be consistent and it must be accurate. So it has to be consistently accurate every day. And it has to be reliable over 24 hours a day. And it must be equally represented in a large road network. You can't have a case where you get very good data for this one part of the city, but not so good data from another part. And a very key attribute, which I have continued to emphasize, is that of the data being exchangeable. In other words, there must be standards to govern how the data structure is, how the format is, and so forth. This is to allow the more efficient use of data. And the data, when you convert it into useful information, again, there are certain attributes, and I put down there, the information you finally give must be relevant to the user. There's no point telling a user about the traffic condition on the eastern side of the city when the person is on the west. Likewise, the data must be current, must be valid, and therefore timeliness is important. No point for a user to get information of a traffic situation 5 minutes ago, or for that matter, 1 minute ago. If you are moving on a road, you need the information to be structured such that at a glance you can understand what this means. For safety reasons, your eyes cannot be off the roads for too long a time. So when we develop traffic sensors, we try to get as much data as we can. And there are 3 R's that I put down here that are equally important, and we have to see how we can optimize them. First, resolution. How fine can your sensor detect a vehicle or a pedestrian and so forth? For example, there are some applications related to autonomous vehicles. You want it to be able to pick up a small kid, a small child, and not just large vehicles. You have to have the range of the sensors adequate enough. How far can the sensors see? Is it just 10 meters ahead or 100 meters ahead? And often it has to be a combination of sensors. Long range sensors, radar, and then shorter range optical cameras for other type of detection. Regularity is how often you get the data back. Some applications you can get the data back every 5 minutes, and that means cost saving and so forth. But some applications require you to get the data every second, and for some time critical applications used by autonomous vehicles, it could be within milliseconds. So all this has a bearing on the sensors that you use on the roads. Finally, of course, there's the environmental resilience. Can it work in heavy rain? Can it work in snow? Can it work in fog? And besides good weather. Smart cities very often would have integrated traffic control systems, a kind of Internet of Things approach. In here, I've layered them. So at the top layer, you have sensors, displays, devices, etc. And all this pick up data and transmit it back to a central platform, a platform that integrates all the data, and that's where the exchangeability comes in. And in order for this transfer of data to happen, you need to have good communications, and that's the next layer. Is it fiber optics? It is 3G, 4G, 5G, whatever. Of course, within the unifying platform, you need to have all the applications that can make use of all the data collected and churn out useful information and to be displayed to the end users. Road pricing systems is an ITS that's found in not so many cities, but it's important. And from where I come from, Singapore, we have the electronic road pricing, which plays an important role in our traffic control strategy. And just a few words there about it having been around for very long. We converted the manual system to electronic one in 1998, and it's flexible, and that is your rates can be changed every half an hour. And can be different rates for different roads with different traffic congestion levels. It is a DSRC system. We are looking at sensors based on satellite signals, GNSS-based system, and that's ongoing at the moment. But since we introduced it in 1998, there have been many several other cities that have also introduced similar congestion pricing schemes: London, Stockholm, Milan, and Gothenburg, and so forth. So this is probably something that is useful in order to improve the quality of life of residents there. For example, in Stockholm, one of the reasons why it got acceptance from the residents is because it cleans up the air from an environmental perspective. There's less pollution and so forth, and the residents like it. On the horizon, there are many more technologies coming on, and listed some of them. And I'll just, in the next few slides, share on some of the thoughts that I have. One thing, because of all these new systems, you find that you will continue to have a need for higher quality data, much more data. And that is something traffic engineers, planners would have to grapple with. So in some sense, you need to have a connected systems, connected vehicles, connected infrastructure in order to give this network-wide interconnected system to gather data in order to build awareness of what's happening on the road network, in order to engineer the next generation of ITS. I'll start with sensors. I think on the horizon, there's a need for more smaller, for low-powered sensors. They are omnipresent everywhere. You cannot rely on the high-energy, high-powered, bulky sensors all over the road network. On the road itself, you've got to start relying on mobile devices. Today, I think smartphones, with the permission of the users, can be used to gather a lot of data on what's happening on the roads. Many utility vehicles also carry OBUs on top. It gives you position, speeds, etc. And so all this can be harnessed together in a coherent manner so that the authorities or third-party developers can make sense of the vast amount of data to give improved applications. Next generation communications is important. We know that in the past we often have to rely on copper wires. We went on to optic fibers to allow higher resolution video cameras to get a sense of what's happening on the roads. But I think 5G will become a norm in the years ahead for its improved performance in terms of a lower latency, in terms of higher bandwidth, and enhanced reliability and security. Of course, these are all promises from the telco, but I think they have been showing that these are indeed realizable, and it will come about in years ahead. Connected vehicles is something we've all been talking about. How do you connect vehicles so that they can share data among themselves? Instead of a sensor on the road giving information to a processing center, and the processing center gives alerts to vehicles on the roads, why not have the vehicles contact each other and alert each other on what's happening on the roads? And that's where V2X and CV2X are coming together. And this is exciting for smart cities of the future. How do you make them work together? I talk about the massive amount of data that are coming, and therefore you need to have the facilities to manage this massive amount of data. There are some people who talk about the need for quantum computing, maybe for some very massive network-wide applications. Yeah, you might well be needing it. But I think probably artificial intelligence will probably be one of the reasons why you use higher computing power. These are years ahead, but I think it will come. Autonomous vehicles, I think we all talk about it, and I think there will be demonstration these few days on the capabilities and the challenges ahead. Very often, I think they rely on digital maps, but how often do we have to update the digital maps to be current, to be valid? That is something that researcher, developers would have to work on. because there's no point having a accurate digital map on the autonomous vehicles when it's out of date. Of course, we all know the benefits, but there are also issues that will require policy makers, thinkers to mull over. For example, with autonomous vehicles, you need not have a qualified driver on the road. Someone who is blind can also be in the autonomous vehicles if it's safe enough. So therefore, the number of vehicles that can potentially be on the road network will increase dramatically because you have non-drivers now using the road system. Would that lead to further congestion? How do you manage the increased congestion because of this? Okay, I think we think that autonomous vehicles may well start with shuttles, may well start with logistic vehicles. And I personally share the views presented by Russell Shields earlier. Okay, at the end of it, I think the other challenges for autonomous vehicles are listed there. One, of course, is public acceptance. How do you get the public to accept it? And I think the process of socializing, of demonstrating to the public, one step at a time, that autonomous vehicles are safe and can operate, will go a long way to getting this public acceptance. There's always talk about autonomous vehicles being on the road all the time. You don't need to park them and so forth. But I always ask myself, where do you park them eventually at 2 a.m. in the morning? Or do you still rely on them to be moving on the road network? That would be a waste of energy because you still need fuel for these vehicles to be running around. So you still need to provide parking spaces for them. Maybe not so many as currently, but you still need to provide for them. Okay, there are other issues, for example, enforcement. How do you enforce autonomous vehicles compliance with rules? Who's liable? Because there's technically no driver on the vehicle. Would all the occupants in the vehicle be liable, or would it be the developer, the applications developer, the vehicle provider, and so forth? These are all issues that would have to be thought of. They are non-technical, but they are important. And so, as I mentioned in my speech earlier, I think there need to be a purposeful objective, a clear objective, and they're all centered around these 4 categories that I mentioned here. Secure and safe, to improve well-being of communities through efficiency gains, affordability, and so forth. Equitable and inclusiveness, transport for all is important. And finally, the sustainability part, especially the environmental one in the years ahead. And to conclude, I'll just say that these are the 4 key points, 4 takeaway messages. There will always be a need for more and higher quality data, but we think it's possible with advances in sensors, communications, and intelligent applications. But at the end, it must still continue to serve a purpose in terms of making it efficient, secure, equitable, and sustainable. And finally, it must improve the quality of life objectives for any smart cities. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Chen. If you have any question, please raise your hand. Yes, just a moment.
Okay, thank you. Your excellent presentations. You talk about next generation, next automation, etc., and quantum computing. It comes down to high quality, more data, hungry data.
Yeah.
But do you have a sense of idea going back to the old ITS issues, the privacy and
Privacy.
terror issues?
Yes.
How do you think about that?
Yeah, I think data privacy is an issue that has been with us from day one. I don't think we have a clear solution. At the end of the day, it all be dependent on what the society wants. So rules governing the protection of data will still be around. And how do you then overcome it? There's some talks about making the data anonymized. But even I would say that if you anonymize data, we have lots of them, you can still get some sense of who that person is and so forth. So therefore, you then have to look into really defining who can have access to all this data and so forth. So it's a whole chain of considerations. No easy answer, and I think there's no perfect and no answer. Yeah. There's this. Yeah. So therefore, for example, in the Data Protection Act, very often it defines what data can be stored, what cannot be stored, and in some cases, any data that can allow you to identify an individual were not allowed to be stored. So yeah. That's why at the start I say it really depends on what the community wants, what the society wants. Trust is important. How do you develop the trust? Will you have greater trust? Yes, you can do a bit more, but I think there will still be a need for you to safeguard privacy and confidentiality of certain parts of the society, even though they might trust you.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Dr. Chin. Please give him a big round of applause.
Thank you.
Before starting next 5 presentation, we have coffee break. The next presentation will start at 3:30.